Terrible droughts have been registered in recent times, as well as waves of intense heat, and the media have been showing some parts of Antarctica and the various snow caps thawing. The UN and the international community have pointed out a single culprit, the human being. But contradictorily, from 2014 on, impressive cold temperatures began to appear, especially in the areas closest to the poles. In 2017, Siberia reached -60 degrees Celsius, or -76 Fahrenheit, and the United States was hit by a cyclone cold bomb, which even froze the beaches of Florida. Now we will see the true history of global warming. More than 12,000 scientists agree that the real cause of climate change is in space, because the sun shows very particular symptoms that seem to be directly related to the Earth's climate. Due to the cycles of our solar system's start, a glacial age is experienced on the planet every so often. And 12,000 years approximately have already passed since the last ice age. In particular, several studies state that the global warming experienced for a few years is the process that precedes the approaching ice age, which has already begun. Some illustrious scientists like Zhenshan, an analyst of temperature changes, as well as Rolf Galiulin and Vladimir Bashkin, members of the Basic Biological Problems, Russian Academy of Sciences, predict that by the year 2030, the ice will have invaded the globe, in a very similar way as seen in the movie The Day After Tomorrow. The presumed farce of global warming. This issue has not only attracted the attention of climatological experts, but has also attracted the attention of all global conspiracy investigators and fanatics, who claim to have noticed a massive deception in terms of the real atmospheric situation we currently face and the one that is coming, making the population of all the nations believe that the Earth was getting hotter due to the action of man. And although this is indeed a contributing cause, it is not the primordial one according to these speakers who defend the glaciation hypothesis, because even if there were no vehicles or factories, the Earth would still always go through these cycles. The United Nations and the major powers of the world agreed a few years ago that each country had to pay a tax for global warming, an amount that is quite substantial and significant, and obviously, such resources come from public funds. Unfortunately, the investments of these enormous amounts are not seen to have effects. On the contrary, they have left much to think about. The main media emphasized this idea since Al Gore, an American politician, published his documentary An Inconvenient Truth, in which the viewer is persuaded about a supposed global warming that would dry the planet, coinciding in those days with strong waves of heat. However, the vast majority of professionals in the field are completely in disagreement, and are fully convinced that the ground cooling is occurring rapidly and that the Antarctic ice is multiplied, instead of extinguished. Some video images have been captured by large icebergs melting, but according to Dr. Vladimir Bashkin, that was a temporary phenomenon and only in a few places, an indisputable symptom of the advent of a new glaciation. By interrupting a huge marine current, the fusing or melting of the Arctic sea ice can trigger a serious drop in temperatures in Europe and North America. The future of the Earth promises to be affected by a new glacial period that, according to physical mathematical calculations, will be even more severe than in the past, added the Russian scientist. Something that is surprising is that long before the phenomenological events began, and before the official science began to pay attention to this, millenarian cultures and esoteristas of high prestige predicted the massive freezing of the Earth and everything that dwells on it. For example, the Mayan claimed that this would happen by entering Keton 13, by the year 2043. Helena Blavatsky, a well-known Russian occultist, said clearly, periodic deluge and glacial periods are due to the karmic disturbance of the axis. Samael Anwar, an anthropologist and teacher of occult sciences of the 20th century, prophesied that due to the approach of a huge planet called Herculeus, a giant of the neighboring solar system, the terrestrial poles would reverse and cause a terrible ice age, accompanied by catastrophes everywhere, earthquakes, volcanic eruptions, among other calamities. Not to mention Michael de Nostradamus, who from the Middle Ages warned humanity about the future. Likewise the indigenous sage of the Sierra Nevada of Santa Marta, Colombia, V.M. Ribalou, who, through the conscious astral unfolding that he teaches in his books, predicted exactly the same. The list of clairvoyants is long. Currently, scientific advances have been corroborating what these mysterious figures of the past affirmed with such emphasis. NASA already announced that the magnetic North Pole has been moving at an impressive speed, which quadruples normal. And this was what Nostradamus said, when he talked of a threatening red star he called Nibiru, saying that each time it approaches the Earth, the magnetic North Pole will move towards Siberia. The calculations indicate that in the year 1970, the pole position dislocation was of 10 kilometers annually, but today it moves to more than 40 kilometers per year. The end of the prophecies of ancient cultures and of these mystics also coincide when the huge planet X, Nibiru or Herculeus pass too close from Earth. The electromagnetic shock will be more than abrupt, and with the tremendous blow, the current continents would be submerged in the oceans that lashed out with unimaginable apocalyptic tsunamis. The strong frosts intensify noticeably in all the nations of the world. Up to the Sahara Desert, one of the hottest places, in December of 2017 it was left with thick layers of snow. Siberia has reached to exceed -60 degrees Celsius or -76 Fahrenheit below zero, and even the animals who live in that icy habitat could not withstand the intense cold and died frozen. Archaeologists have found for decades frozen mammoths in a perfect state of conservation, which is a very telling proof that in the previous glaciation, these animals were frozen immediately, in a second. Science warns that the past melting of the Arctic region has paralyzed what is known as the Oceanic Gulf Stream, a fundamental zone for the climate of North America and Western Europe. Global warming or a new ice age? There is nothing left to do apart from resigning to the famous scholar quote that dictates, "The facts are the facts, and before the facts, we must surrender."